Let's see how we can deploy WordPress using Docker. Before deploying WordPress, we need to understand that WordPress is divided into two main components, the PHP code and the MySQL database. In order for WordPress to work, these two components need to talk to each other. And in order to talk to each other, these two components need to be on the same network. So let's see what are the three steps that we need to accomplish to get WordPress up and running using Docker. So the first step is to create a network because as mentioned earlier, the components for WordPress need to communicate, and for that we need a common network. Once we have that network, we will run a Docker WordPress container, and in the next step, we will run a Docker MySQL server container. And in the last, we make sure that both containers are on the same network. So let's see all these three steps in action. So I am here in my terminal, and let's verify that my Docker is up and running. For that, I am using Docker version. And if I get an output like this, it means that my Docker is in running state. So the first step is to create a network. For that, I will use Docker network create my custom network. This will be the name of my network. Hitting return creates a network. So let's verify it using Docker network ls. And here is my custom network with the driver bridge. So this completes our first step. Let's move on to the second step. In the second step, we will create a Docker container for WordPress. Let me clear my screen. And now let's create a WordPress container using Docker run -- name, the name of my WordPress container, that is my WordPress -- network, my custom network. This will assign this network to this container, and then I'll enter the port information, that is 8080 for the host port and 80 for the internal port of the container, followed by -d that will run this container in detached mode, and lastly mentioning the name of the image, that is WordPress. So let's hit return, and it creates a container for WordPress, and this completes our second step. Let's move on to the third step. And the third step is to create a container for MySQL, and the command for that is docker run -- name followed by the name of the container, that is in this case is wp-mysql, and then followed by -- network, my custom network. This will assign the same network to the MySQL server as it was for the WordPress container, and then we will define 4 environment variables: MySQL root password, MySQL user, MySQL password, and MySQL database, and make sure that we run this container in detached mode, and the name of our image is MySQL. So let's hit return. You can verify that using Docker PS that our two containers are now up and running, wp-mysql and my WordPress. So let's go to the browser and access our localhost /8080, and there is our WordPress installation screen. So let's continue that. Click continue, and we need to configure our database so that WordPress can communicate with the database. Let's hit let's go. The name of our database was WordPress. The username was WordPress. The password was WordPress pass. Click on show to verify that you have entered the correct value. And the last thing that we need to add is the database host. In order to get that database host, you need to go back to the terminal and see if we can find out the value of the database host. So here I am back in my terminal, and this is my container for MySQL. The name of the container basically serves as the host name followed by the port name. So let's go back to the browser and type in wp-mysql:-t306 and hit submit. You can see everything went well. We are ready to install WordPress. So let's hit run the installation, and we get the WordPress installation screen. Test site name. Let's enter the username test, password test, confirm that we are going to use the weak password, and then at admin@admin.com for testing purposes, and let's hit install WordPress. So our WordPress installation is now complete, And on the login screen, we need to enter the username, test, password, test, and we have successfully logged in into WordPress backend. And we can visit the front end and everything is working seamlessly. So you can see that using one single tool, that is Docker, we are able to deploy WordPress using two different containers. If we had to do it using without Docker, we need to install the Apache server, MySQL server, and then the PHP on our local system, and then we are able to install WordPress. But using Docker, everything was seamless and there was a 3-step process. Using 3 simple commands, we were able to deploy WordPress on our Docker engine.